Hey gamers, this is Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I'm going to be reviewing Agricola, Master of Britain. This is a light solitaire wargame from Hollandspiele Games that is designed by Tom Russell, and it's about being Agricola, who was one of the governors of Roman Britain who had a lot of hostile tribes to deal with, as well as a jealous emperor back home. So this is the whole setup for Agricola, Master of Britain. As you can see, these are basically a couple of thick pieces of paper. You can mount them if you want, but I ordered this straight from Hollandspiele, and I'm pretty sure it's print on demand, or you can actually pay less and get a P&P if you're that sort of person. I'm too lazy. But the essential goal of the game is to survive an entire 8 turns without losing, which is a lot harder than you would think. If you run out of income at any point, so if your treasury hits 0 and it's empty, guess what? You lose the game. If you lose a battle, you lose the game, because Rome's not supposed to lose battles. Come on. If you end the game and Calgoncus, who is one of the most famous British chieftains of all time, is on the board and you haven't successfully defeated him, guess what? You also lose. And the other way to lose, and the most common way that you're going to lose, is you're going to lose by not getting enough victory points down here on the turn track. So as you can see, every turn you're expected to have generated a certain number of VP, and if you don't hit that threshold, you're done. So turn 1 is not too tough to get because you only need 3. By turn 2 you need 8. By turn 3 you need 13. And of course by turn 8 you need 75. And VP are actually only earned 1 at a time, and they're not that easy to get. VP are cumulative per turn, so it helps to have a good infrastructure going in Britain so that every turn you just automatically generate more points, but it's still pretty tough. So you can get a victory point per level 3 settlement marker, which means that you have to build a settlement and upgrade it. That's a 2-turn process and it costs you money. So it's easier said than done. You can also get 1 VP per region that has no tribal units. In turn 1, that should be fairly easy. You shouldn't be pulling any red or blue chits, but something could, I suppose, go very wrong. And later in the game, it's going to be even harder to have regions that are clear of hostile units. You can get 1 victory point for each level 3 battle unit, so they can have 1, 2, or 3 Aquili on them, or eagles. And you can only promote by going to battle, which means that you risk the lives of your soldiers by taking them into battle to make them better, and they only get better 1 at a time. So you have to make sure that you are planning that correctly and being smart about when you choose to pick a fight. But you still have to pick a fight because it's a good way to get points. You also get a victory point every time you kill a tribal leader. So if one comes out on the board and you manage to kill him off before he disappears again, then you get 1 point per round for every turn that he's still in the dead pool. So if you get 1 early in the game, that's a very reliable source of victory points because he's not coming back. If you have money, you can also use the money to buy victory points, but you'll have a lot of things that you want to do with your money, so you have to make the right choices about that. Meanwhile, everything that you choose to do on the map is going to cause some adjustments in these cups. So you're wondering, why does Liz have all of these solo cups on her gaming table? It is because this is a chit pulling game where this is the battle cup, but you have the friendly cup, the unfriendly cup, and the hostile cup. So everything that you do is going to cause the locals' feelings about you to change. So most things that you do are going to make people hostile, so they're going to provoke a cup adjustment where something goes from unfriendly to hostile or from friendly to unfriendly. And they're going to provoke a hostile tribe reaction where you pull a chit from the hostile cup and put it out on the map. So there's basically nothing that you can do that is going to make everyone happy. You can do some bribery and put some units into the friendly cup where you can recruit them later, but that's going to cost you money, of which there isn't much. And if you run out, you lose. So you have to make the right choices. The other thing that makes this game interesting is that the success of your actions is never guaranteed. While you can do some things to hedge your bets, such as pay attention to the resistance levels of these units, or perhaps put a little bit of extra money on the table when you're trying for a bribe, most actions come down to a roll of a d8, which means that you can do your very best, especially in battle, and still have some very, very bad luck. If Fortuna is not with you, you're not going to do very well in Agricola, Master of Britain. That said, this game is a really interesting puzzle because figuring out which actions based on the board state are the smartest to pursue at any given time, and making sure that you're investing in and protecting settlements while also fighting enough battles to promote your soldiers is a really interesting puzzle that I have enjoyed spending a lot of time trying to solve better. Because of the dice, you can't guarantee a victory, but you definitely see a learning curve in this game where you truly improve at it and you get smarter about the choices that you make, which is a very satisfying experience. There are a lot of really cool things about Agricola, Master of Britain. I actually really enjoyed the Chit pull system because it sort of represents these shifting loyalties that you can't see and that you can't entirely control, but you can try to manipulate from the position that you're in. So knowing that doing something in the game is going to make some unfriendly tribes overtly hostile, or knowing that you can bribe tribes in order to put them in the friendly cup, is a really cool added touch to the game, so that you're not just moving around the board doing whatever you want. You have to think about the consequences of what you do. Also, while the victory point requirements are pretty brutal in the game, it's actually a really interesting process to learn by experimenting which actions are going to benefit you the most and what you should do to respond to different conditions on the map at different times. So do you try to go to war and get a tribal leader? Do you try to build a settlement up so that you can get consistent victory points off of that until the end of the game? Is it better to bribe some locals, or is it better to suppress them, or should you just get into a fight? There are a whole lot of interesting decisions to make in the game, and they have long-running consequences for the rest of each game that you play. So for me, that makes Agricola, Master of Britain a very fun, interesting, challenging gaming experience, and one that I'm really glad that I've had. So that said, there are a couple of quibbles that I also have with Agricola, Master of Britain. The first one is movement. So I get really frustrated in games where I can't just move. And in Agricola, Master of Britain, you can really only move if you're going to take an action. So only a legion that's going to do something can choose to move one adjacent space first. So if you want to do something that's 3 spaces away, you're going to have to just kind of work through 3 actions that you maybe don't want in order to get over there. And I understand that this is a deliberate part of the game. You know, Tom Russell has talked on BGG about not wanting people to be able to just avoid conflict or just kind of warp from one end of the map to the other, and I get it, but I also find that the restrictions on movement lead to issues in the game, such as not being able to get back to a space where you really need to do something. And while you can say that it's a strategic thing and you have to plan for it, I also found it kind of frustrating. And then probably my least favorite part of Agricola, Master of Britain is the battle system. There are some nuances to this, but essentially you line up the bad guys, you line up your guys, and then you just roll a die for each attack and then roll a die for each defense attempt until somebody wins. So that's a whole lot of rolling of an individual die, which can get a little old if you're doing a really big battle. It also really brings things down to luck in a way that I don't love, because there's not a lot that you can do to mitigate it. You can have upgraded soldiers, but in the end, if you just sit there and roll bad for a really long time, after all of that planning and plotting and taking over the map, you can lose the game. That's especially true if you have a problem at the Battle of Mons Graupius, which is where you're going to fight Calgacus, the ultimate, British leader. And if he is on the map at the end of the game, no matter how well you've done otherwise, you'll lose, which means that you could do all this planning, all this victory point generation, and then have one bad battle against him at the end and not make it. And again, I get it thematically, but that's not necessarily something that I love in the gameplay. Overall, however, Agricola, Master of Britain is a good time. I like its attention to the theme. I love the way that actual quotations from Tacitus's biography of Agricola are woven into the rulebook. There's a lot of care and a lot of thought that's gone into this game, and you can really see it when you play. I also feel that those initial plays where you haven't figured out the game yet are really exciting and frustrating in all of the right ways. After you've played it a few times, you'll kind of find yourself doing some of the same stuff over and over again, but it's gonna take a lot of plays for you to get there, and the time that you'll spend is well worth your money, and it's very enjoyable. So even though I thought that the battle system was a little bit wonky, it was like the least elegant part of an otherwise very deeply thought out design, I'm gonna give Agricola a 7 out of 10 because I think that it's well worth a look, and it is a really cool solitaire war game, especially for people who are looking to dip a toe into the genre. So, Dice Tower seal of approval and happy gaming.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.